Update: various baby foods found containing lead.
Topkats Pride, bringing to you the unusual but factual and oftentimes ignored and controversial wild news, keeping you in the know while you're on the go. And now, your wild news reporter, Q. Pate.
Lead was found in 20% of more than 2,000 baby food samples, according to an Environmental Defense Fund analysis of Food and Drug Administration data released on a Thursday, which was June 22nd, 2017. Lead was most commonly found in fruit juices, 89% of grape juice samples, and 55% in apple juice samples. Sweet potatoes at 86% of the samples, and baby teething biscuits at 47% of the samples. There's no safe level of lead. This is what everyone always must remember. According to the EDF, the Environmental Defense Fund, and yet about 500,000 children have elevated blood lead levels, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, also known as the CDC. Children face the highest risk from blood lead levels, including behavioral problems and lower IQs as they grow. Children who have elevated blood levels are more likely to have speech delays, cognitive difficulties, and lower IQs. Only a slight difference in IQ, by the way, is enough sometimes to cause difficulty in school and learning. On the economic side of this equation, lower IQs caused by lead exposure translates into a total of an estimated $27 billion per year in lost lifetime earnings nationwide, the Environmental Defense Fund calculated in its report. The Environmental Defense Fund analyzed publicly available data from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's Total Diet Study, which each year collects samples of food from around the country and tests it for a host of nutrients and contaminants, including lead. Adults are also affected by lead consumption. It's been linked to high blood pressure and kidney damage, according to the World Health Organization, also known as the acronym WHO. Aside from consuming lead through foods, people can inhale lead particles from lead-contaminated dust and water, absorb it as well from cosmetics, cheap costume jewelry, lead-saturated soil often found on playgrounds and in playground equipment. Not to forget, lead has been found in medicines and in wall paints. The WHO wrote, "Low levels of lead contaminate many of the foods North Americans eat, including nearly all categories of baby food," a report by the Environmental Defense Fund showed. Fruit juices, root vegetables, and cookies were the baby foods most likely to contain lead. According to the group's Chemicals Policy Director, Mr. Tom Neltner, no child gets high levels of lead from food alone, but low levels of lead cause a lot of harm to kids across the country. No safe level of lead in children's blood has been identified. Even very low levels can cause behavioral problems and reduce IQs. The FDA is continuing to work with the industry to further limit the amount of lead in foods to the greatest extent feasible, especially in foods frequently consumed by children. a spokesman for the government agency said in a recent statement. The FDA has established lead levels that should not be exceeded for a variety of foods, he also said. The agency is in the process of reevaluating the analytical methods it uses for determining when it should take action with respect to measured levels of lead in particular foods, including the ones consumed by infants and toddlers. The Grocery Store Manufacturers Association, the GMA, and several major manufacturers of baby food did not respond to the request for comment, according to the news publication USA Today. Also, the Specialty Food Association declined to comment on this report. And, by the way, the FDA data on which this study was based didn't provide specific company details. So, my thoughts on this alarming situation? Well, firstly, I must say that my understanding of this dilemma is one of being pretty well informed, because I've been providing intelligence on this toxic lead topic, being in many cities, homes, and schools, drinking water throughout the USA over the past many years. And that has been on our YouTube channel, on the homepage, and in the playlist section. I have compiled many videos for you that report in depth about this very important issue of lead being widely prevalent throughout our towns and cities. So there, in our channel's playlist section, you can check further videos on this topic as soon as today. As far as a possible solution to this growing epidemic, well, I can't give you any type of real consultation legally, but I can tell you what I would do and what I am doing. In my opinion, well, I would start preparing my baby's food at least 75% to 80% of the time, as to greatly lessen the probability rate of my child's food being contaminated with lead, and as to not depend on corporations to do so. You know, like people did in the old days when there weren't any corporations providing baby food products. I would also start making my baby's fruit juices and sweet treats, as these two additional products from grocery stores were also found to be often contaminated with lead, according to the report from the Environmental Defense Fund analysis by way of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And lastly, what I would do is I would thoroughly research the topics of lead and copper levels in the U.S. society, as to get a better understanding of the whole situation. I'd get me and my child's blood, lead, and copper levels checked. I'd research, buy, and install the best heavy metal water filters in my home, which is also made especially to remove lead and copper. I would also research knowledge on the best heavy metal detoxification products I could buy for home use. You know, like the product called Zeolite, spelled Zeolite. Then I would purchase the product and begin my heavy metal detox according to the product's directions, of course. So, I'd like to state before this video is a wrap. Always remember, according to all research by universities, local, state, and federal agencies in the USA, in reference to lead consumption by humans, young or old, there is no safe level for lead consumption. Therefore, any consumption of lead is dangerous and should be removed from your body immediately. For the TKP, the TRC, and this IC Wild News edition, my name is Q. Pate. Take care.